Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Upfront Mind Body Soul podcast, where I am your host, Dr. Michelle Boulden-Hammond. And here at Upfront Mind Body Soul, we have authentic conversations for wellness in your mind, your body, and your soul. Today's episode is deeply going to be a meaningful one because we are going to discuss a topic that most people don't like talking about. We avoid talking about it, but let me say to guarantee you that this will affect you down the long lines, and it will affect everyone in your family at one point or one time or another. So tonight's episode is called Sacred Endings, Peaceful Transitions. So what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the role of end of stage life doula, which we can call now, you may be seeing it, Death Doulas. I'm going to give you what the role of a death doula is. I'm going to give you a few of where the arenas that these can be found in. But I know, as you said, this is a tough conversation for us to talk about. So before we get started, I want us just to get grounded before we get started. If you notice here lately, I've been doing a lot of breath work before the episode because I know sometimes it can help you process some of the things that you're hearing. And I just want you to take this in. Don't be fearful of it. Don't be fearful of it. So let us begin. First, let's take a deep breath in and exhale out. One more. Exhale out. Because one, I want you to know that this conversation is not to bring on fear, but it's about compassion. It's about dignity. It's about having that emotional support. And it's about helping families feel safe about life's most sacred transition. And I just want to say, yes, I'm talking about this tonight because recently I have been impacted by my stepfather's death. So I thought this was a very pivotal time for me as well. Again, when you see what I'm talking about, I got to point it back to myself. So this is the reason why I do these types of shows. And I think it was very important that we understand some of the things that maybe seem new to us, but not everything is always new to us. But I just want to bring you some clarity and some clarification on it. So what is the role of a death doula? So you hear right now, you hear a lot of birth doulas, but there are also people who can help with the end of stage of life. And I am certified in both, qualified to teach both as an AADP, American Association of Drugless Practitioner. Yes. So I do have the expertise to talk about these things as well. So many people have heard, again, you heard of pre-birth doulas, and now there are death doulas. A death doula is called an end-of-life doula. They are non-medically trained. They're a support professional who gives emotional support, spiritual or practical applications, and compassionate support to individuals and their families, navigating either serious illnesses, active dying, grief, and bereavement. Now, if you noticed that my guest last week, Tamara and Shawan last week, they're having a storytelling, and it's based around grief. So I will show this right now to let you know that this is something that you can attend as we're talking about this topic. They were on my show last week, and they gave out a few things. Like one person said their mother had been over 30 years ago, and it's just the point of having that grief. So again, that is something that'll be happening May 31st that you can actually go to. It's the storytelling. It's all based about how to talk about your grief. Again, a death doula, again, they are not replacing the doctors. They're not replacing the nurses, and they are not replacing hospice. However, what they are doing is fulfilling the emotional support that is a gap that many families experience at the end of stage of death. So why is it that it's important for them to be that, to have this role? Simply, they are someone that can listen, someone who can sit bedside, someone who can explain the emotional transitions. They are also someone who can organize a legacy report, legacy wishes. There's someone who can be the mediator when it's chaos to bring calm. And they are also someone to remind them that they are not alone. And honestly, let's talk about the healthcare system. Right now, thin everywhere, right? It's so thin that some hospitals are closing down because they don't have enough staff or whatever else for certain departments in the hospital, within the hospitals. So in today's healthcare, emotional presence is often missing because, again, the doctors and the providers are outstretched, the nurses are outstretched. I can say 21 years I worked in a nursing home, seeing many people, many individuals transition over. So it is a portion that is not given as much attention to. So why is this death doula support important? Okay, let me explain. One thing I've learned in this journey that I am in this care of holistic care work, because it is a holistic care approach, people will remember, and this is something you can ask yourself. Think about it. I'm going to give you that question to think. Think about what was given to you during a time of a transition of someone that you lost. People will remember how they are cared for emotionally. Yes, they will. Think about that. I'm going to sit right there with that one. People will remember how they were cared for emotionally. Now, if you feel that one, I want you to write in the chat, amen, amen. So one of the things families remember, they remember your kindness. They remember your compassion. They're going to remember those conversations, the dignity that you had shown during the vulnerable moments. Unfortunately, though, many families feel overwhelmed when navigating these systems. Finding out that diagnosis and that terminal illness, that, hey, my mom, my dad, or whoever is not going to be here no more. They're giving them this X amount. Who's there for that emotional strength? Hospice decisions. Should I want them home? Should I put them in hospice? Or is it too much for me to be the caregiver? Funeral planning, which can be overwhelming because, again, I'll talk about that a little later because I do have a little spill with that one. Grief, caregiver exhaustion, again, and emotional burnout. Death doulas can help normalize all of this with compassionate conversations around the following: legacy, emotional support, again, spiritual contacts and comfort, grief support, family communications, and peaceful transitions. So those are a couple of things that we can look in those arenas why maybe you may want to have or have this planned into a regimen for your end-of-life transitions. Again, this is a hard conversation. Again, as I said, in the weeks, my stepfather just passed. I went to go see him in the hospice. There's, it's a lot. It's a lot. So why hospitals, you think? As I said earlier, as you heard me say earlier from the conversation, providers, mainly Hospitals are there to take care of your medical care and your treatment, but many hospitals do not always have that time for emotional resources. I can tell you, I can remember at one point in time when there was a chaplains going around into the hospitals at one point in time. Now they leave that up to families to call. This is where a death doula could be a person to come in to offer that support. So if it's any CEO hospital people like there, you might want to add this as another service to your clientele or your patients who will be coming into your hospitals. So fully support, these are what happens. They need to be fully supported in their spiritual needs and the family during the end of life moments. This is where death doulas can help again tremendously. Death doulas may assist with emotional grounding, bedside companionship, family reassurance, creating peaceful environments. What does that look like? That means playing that loved one's music. Because again, hearing is the first thing, the last thing to go. So talking about those legacies, knowing that you had that legacy, letting them hear those last things, right? Imagine, this is a scenario that I want you to think about. Imagine that you have a family that's sitting right now in a hospital, feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and emotionally frozen, right? Now imagine a death doula or someone present as a role that can provide a calm, welcoming atmosphere and emotional support along with that compassionate presence. So what would happen with that atmosphere? It would change, correct? It would change. Death doulas can humanize the care. Just remember that. Death doulas can humanize the care. So look, we're at a break time right now, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation based upon what doulas' roles are in the different arenas. Next, coming up, we're going to be talking about how important their role may be in the hospice. So we're going to take a quick break, go grab something, and come right back. We'll be right back.
Walk the path of growth, and abundance will meet you there.
Welcome to the forest. Women walk in like royalty. Confident.
Join us for our Pour Into Your Peace Forest Tea experience. Join in for our Pour Into Your Peace in the secluded, unplugged forest with Dr. Michelle.
Welcome back to the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul podcast, where I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Boulden-Hammond. And what you just seen there will be my next weekend, June the 6th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pour Into My Peace, Tea in the Forest, in the Unplugged Forest. Again, this is going to be an adventure. For those who want to attend, I will need your support things done and completed by this Friday. That is the cutoff. This Friday will be the cutoff, because I have to have special seating arrangements to the person who is the owner of the Unplugged Forest on how many settings to set up. But I also want to specify that there will also be a photo shoot out in the forest. So again, if you want to attend, I will need you to either contact me or I will send you the link, and you will need to have this in no later than this Friday, 11:59 p.m. Okay? Just going from there. So again, I know we always wait till the last minute, and we got to do better with that. But again, need you to have your ticket. If you want to come, you need to be registered by 11:59 this coming Friday. So let's go back to a role of how an end-of-life doula can be in a hospice and how it can benefit in hospice. So again, the death doulas complement the hospice. And I just want to say, I know that Talbot Hospice, they do classes for end of stage life doulas, but I think that's just directly towards the folks that are coming into the Talbot hospices or the Compass hospices. So why this happens and why could this include what it may look like? It may look like them having a vigil for the person, guided breathing, legacy projects, things like that. Let's see what else. Journaling, have the family write some story letters and read around the room. Music, again, having a calming music environment. Emotional processing, just sitting still with the family. And family support conversations. Tell their loved ones they need them. Again, hearing is the last thing to go. And, sometimes the family just needs someone to sit quietly with them, no rushing, no judgment, no pressure, just presence. And presence matters. Again, remember, as I flip back a few sentences before, people remember how you show them emotional support during the vulnerable times. Now, I'm going to now talk about funeral homes and how the death doula collaborations. That is like one of the things that I see is a gap, because this could be very fruitful and it can be a good collaboration to the funeral homes. And this should be something, if I was a funeral director, this would be something that I would look into. Now, don't get me wrong. I know business is business, service is service, but we got to think about the steps and the roles, right? And this is an honest conversation. This is let's get real, a LGR. I've been through it several times. Let's think about the pattern of how funeral homes and how this role of a death doula could actually help in some ways. Now, let's get real about it. Funeral, some people may have funeral plan, a pre-planned package. Wouldn't it help to have a pre-planned package? In the pre-planned package, to state that in the role of transitioning, give my death doula a call, that they can be there as support from my service for the family prior to you coming and picking up the body in front of the family. I'm just saying. The other thing is you meet with the family, you do the planning, funeral, burial. Maybe you get a celebration of life at the end of the year services. However, who is giving that loved one a card or something on the remembrance of their death, or when it's remembrance of their birthday? You don't get that. Now, this is where I see a collaboration for a doula. Just saying. Those are the 4 things that I know that a funeral home does. They come pick up the body, you meet with them, the funeral, the burial, and you may not all do it. You may get a celebration of life, but that's it, and you'll get your death certificate. But what are the ongoing things? Because again, as you heard from my host, my host guest last week said, at one point in time, she was still grieving in 30 some years. Who is there for the grief support? Now, some say that they do have grief counseling. I've yet to see it. Now, if you do, good old kudos to you. Hands clap to you. But I'm just saying, this is how collaboration for having that person like that on staff will help. You think about it. You're getting thousands and thousands of dollars for that service. It wouldn't help to expand the service by making sure that these things, because people are still grieving. You don't know when people will stop grieving. You don't even ask that. But you often go to funerals and you hear people say, you get all the calls and the overflowing after that. But then after the repast, where everybody at? This is what needs to be taken as filling in the gap at most of funeral homes. That's just my opinion. Michelle's just saying that. That's just me. I just feel as though that should be something that should be intertwined in that as a service. So again, let's discuss the funeral homes portion of that. Funeral directors, they handle transportation, the arrangements, documentation, the memorial services. But families are often emotionally overwhelmed by making these decisions because it's like pit. We got to do it. So this is how a death doula can help a family process the emotions, organize the thoughts, navigate the conversations, honor the cultural traditions, discuss legacy wishes, and reduce emotional overwhelm. Now, this partnership, along with a funeral home and death doulas, can create more of a compassionate, family-centered experience. Now, again, families remember what you do for them emotionally, the kindness, the dignity, and the compassion. So what happens in this role? The practical role of this, families need both. They need the practical guidance, but they also need the emotional support. Now, in the role of death doulas, cultural humility and holistic. One thing that I strongly believe in is that the end of life must be culturally respectful. Now, I know one of my soror sisters said that she had her brother in, hospice, and some of his cultural stuff was not taken care of. So that's where we talk about trainings. We talk about how you can, different families have different practices. Different people have different beliefs. Different mourning traditions. If there's someone that you have as a Native American Indian, that there are certain things, burials that you got to do certain times, or there are certain times in the moon phases that you have to bury that person, that you need to call in the tribal person in for that. So those are different things that you need to take in account. Different spiritual beliefs, different mourning traditions, different family structures, and different ways of expressing grief. As a holistic person, as myself, practitioner, doulas, we must approach the families with humility, compassion, and openness. Again, people are going to remember how you were kind to them. Compassion, I'm giving these words out, kindness, passions, and all of that. So not assumptions. We can't assume. We can't assume. We got to know that we know what we know. So in the role of this as a doula or in the stage life doula, you must honor the traditions. You must know if they want to do ancestral practice, they want to pour libations, that's what they want to do. If they belong to any type of organizations, that's their, thing. Emotional needs, certain cultural ceremonies, spiritual beliefs. Every transition, again, this all based around dignity. So, moving to the next phase of what I want to talk about. So, in this, I'm excited to share the work that is going to be taking place. As you know, I took a new transition. I took a leap, and I'm excited to share that this work is becoming a part of expansion of my holistic business with educational offerings. You might say, what is she up to next? So this right here, you see, is the Sacred Transitioning book here. I guess we got to have it here. There we go. Sacred Endings, Peaceful Transitions. This is what we have in here. So beginning in July, we're just waiting on got a couple more things that I have to do. We here at Mama's Healing for You will be doing certification classes for birth and in the stage life doulas. So if you want to be one of those, be looking out in the next couple weeks where I will be having applications to be taken on participants. And the good thing about this is once you become this certification, you will actually also be certified as a holistic practitioner. So yeah, some new things coming up. So through this Sacred Innings Transition Program, let me tell you what I'll be offering. Death Doula education, legacy planning support, family-centered emotional support, holistic grief support workshops, Vigil companionship, community wellness conversations. Again, this is how I brought this out, bringing it out for community conversations, professional training in this, and compassionate end-of-life guidance. This work will align with my mission of supporting the mind, body, and soul wellness through all stages of life: birth, healing, transitions, remembrance. All of this is sacred to me. And I also believe that more communities need to have conversations around this, right? Emotional wellness, grief literacy. There we go. Grief literacy. Who's ready for that conversation? Compassionate caregiving and holistic end-of-life support. And I am committed, as you can see, helping to bring these conversations into the community spaces, educational, even to your churches, your forums, wherever you need me to be to talk about these conversations. I'm here. Wellness platforms. I'm all about collaboration and partnerships with this. So if this is something that you need, you can hit me up here. There's the email. You can go to the website, but just keep looking out because we'll be having applications coming out pretty soon for that. Now, my final reflection before it's time to go. So before I close this episode tonight, I want to leave the listeners, even if you might catch this replay, with one thought. We as death doulas or end-of-life stage doulas are not here to talk about fear. What we are here to talk about, and what I have talked about to you guys tonight, is where we're here about compassion. We, me, you, if this sounds something that you want to do, we are here to help individuals and families feel these things. We want our families to know that they're seen. We want our families to know that they're going to be heard, supported, comforted, and honored. Sometimes the greatest healing comes not from fixing, but just simply being present. And we know that today in a world moving so fast, compassionate presence is becoming one of the most needed forms of care right now. So I would like to say tonight's episode has been a conversation to talk about tonight. And I love that we had this conversation. So, Upfront Mind Body Soul podcast. If today's episode has touched your heart, please share it with someone who may benefit from this. Leaning more to a more compassionate end-of-life support. And to learn more about the Sacred Endings Peaceful Transition and the upcoming Death Doula education, please reach out to me. The education, if you need opportunities, workshops, and holistic wellness service, I am here to serve you. So again, as we always say, be grounded, be empowered, and surely be unstoppable. Until the next time, if you know, continue pouring love into yourself and to others. Until next week, I am Dr. Michelle Boulden-Hammond.